breakaway.
Still running. James Franklin spinning on his feet. Touchdown.
To the 20, to the 10, to the house. Henry Josey.
Franklin takes off. And it's a touchdown for Missouri. It's Mizzou, folks. They'll play next week for an SEC championship.
Welcome to Mizzou's True Sons. Here with me now, the stars of this show. It is Mr. James Franklin and Henry Josey, two Mizzou legends and two true sons indeed. Guys, thank you so much for doing this. This is going to be a blast this season. I can't believe it's finally happening. We had some technical difficulties, but you know what? That's 2021 for you. James and Henry, welcome to the show. How has everything been going, guys?
Thank you. I appreciate you having us. Henry, I'll let you go first per usual.
Perfect, as always, huh? Oh, man, everything's been going great. Life all wrapped in a bottle, man. Just trying to get used to being an old man, you could say, particularly. About to hit the big 3-0, so that's probably the main thing that's on my mind right now, mainly.
Well, yeah, this is tough for me. I mean, I'm 37. It's 8 years removed since that magical 2013 season. I wasn't even 30 years old yet. It's unbelievable to think about how time flies and how your guys' careers and how things work in life. And now you guys are on to families and children and things like that. Man, where does the time go?
Yeah, you're right about that. That's what I'm a little ahead of Henry. Just turned 30 about a month and a half or so ago. And it's definitely different. I mean, I'm sure everyone says the same thing. When you're older, you get it. When you're younger, you're just tired of people saying it. But it just doesn't feel like you're 30. Maybe for Henry. I mean, Henry, he went through a little bit, but for the most part, I feel like I can still be 21, 22 or so. Thankfully, I stay in shape, so I'm not necessarily pulling my back, just bending over to pick up my girls or anything. But yeah, it's definitely crazy how it just flies by.
Henry, starting with you, just kind of talk about your life, your post-football life, kind of what you've been up to. I know you're back in your home state of Texas. After just a tremendous career at Mizzou, in which you fought through one of the most devastating knee injuries we've ever seen in 2011 to come back, and in 2013 to have 1,100 yards and to play the way you did. But then to leave school early and to try to give it that run in the NFL. What's kind of take us through that, leaving school and your career since then, and just kind of what your life has been like since Mizzou days came to an end?
Well, it definitely didn't slow down, not one bit. Definitely that was a hard decision to leave Mizzou. I had another year to be there, of course. But in the long run, I was looking more family. I had a kid already in school, so I was trying to look for that next opportunity. And at the same time, knowing I don't know when this knee is going to give out again, so I better go for it while I can. The transition was absolutely crazy. I'm still transitioning to this day. With football and outside of football. I keep doing some of the just regular things, a lot of talking, go to churches and talk to groups. In my meantime, I just do a lot of public speaking. And also I've went into the chemical plant world. So I'm a site supervisor down here in Texas. Been doing that now almost 4 years. And then on the side, still doing some training. Started coaching my son in baseball this year, so you can say I'm getting back acclimated to being a sports dad / sports guy again. I've broke a few chairs already, just getting excited and just staying in that mode. So the fire is definitely not gone. Still able to go out and play sports, play basketball, play in little leagues, but the main thing is really just supporting my wife, supporting the kids, and trying to live as happily as we can in this little crazy world we're going through right now.
Yeah, James, for you, also had hopes of NFL stardom, but you wind up having success in the Canadian Football League, and you just, as of a few months ago, retired from the Canadian League. You were a member of the Saskatchewan Roughriders at that point, and I believe you're sporting a Rough Rider shirt right there.
Edmonton Eskimos.
Oh, it's Edmonton. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
So
okay. I'll get to that.
we'll get there. But I think, was it Darius Outlaw that played for Edmonton too at one point?
I think so. Yeah, so you might be right.
I think he did. So for you, your career has just ended, and you have a woodworking business. You're looking at a lot of things in life. You're a girl dad. Take us through it, my friend.
Okay, well, I know we got 30 minutes because normally this is like a 6-hour story. But so yeah, after Mizzou, I mean, I had a very short stint with the Detroit Lions, and some of my maturing happened then because I was bitter for a while. I went from having a great sophomore year to potentially being a top 3 round draft pick to a bunch of injury riddled games the next season, and then restart back to senior year, doing great, and then a shoulder injury, and then missed, and then only one team called after the draft. It was Detroit. I was pumped. I went there, and it was a big change. I mean, they had these long calls, and of course you see wristbands now all the time, but at the time they're like, "Oh, we don't use wristbands. We don't use wristbands," and these play calls are long. So I mean, we're in mini camp, rookie mini camp, and I'm in there. And it sounds like this sometimes when they talk really fast, and it sounds like you can't really hear that good. So I'm in there, and he calls his play, and he says, "We got there, baseball kid, the 5 Galaxy, SMY, Plus." And I'm just thinking, like, you got to be kidding me. So I'm down on the knee. Everyone's listening. The GMs, everyone, they're watching. I said, so I stand up. I said, "Coach, say that again." "We go there for baseball, kill 5 Galaxy, SMY, Post." And so I'm like, week right. Long story short, this is about probably a 4 or 5 minute event that it's supposed to be regurgitated in and out. So of course I'm feeling foolish and getting embarrassed in front of everybody. I can't remember these super long play calls. So I spend my time working. The next couple months, I'm memorizing everything. I got it down to a T. We're in the preseason, first preseason game, second preseason game, third preseason game. Finally, I'm the only player left in the entire team that hasn't played in preseason. And like, "James, you're starting this last preseason game. Get ready. We've got some packages for you." I was pumped. And the next day, the GM says, "Bring your stuff to the front office." And I was just heart-wrenched. I was crying, and I felt so defeated. So anyways, fast forward, I'm training at Mizzou, living with the family there, and my wife and I, we had gotten married. So we're training there for about a year, and then if you guys might remember good old Kendall Lawrence.
Yes, sir.
He was up in Canada, actually with Edmonton, and he's like, "Hey, you should try the Canadian Football League." So I went. There's 9 teams. They had some tryouts in the U.S. I tried out for 7 of the 9. Then finally, the one I thought I had no chance of making the team, Edmonton Eskimos, he called me a couple months later. He was like, "Hey, we want you to come to mini camp. Want you to sign a contract." I was pumped. Fast forward, thankfully I did well enough to make the roster. Then I got cut from the PR. Huge defeat. Injuries happened. I got moved up to backup. Lack of performance happened. I got to start a few. I did good. Kind of made a name for myself. But the next 3 years, I was backup. But I was loving it up there. I mean, it was pretty cool. Not what I was expected. I felt even though I graduated high school and college degree, knew very little about Canada. So geographically, I was struggling. And so we had an away game. I don't know if I should admit this, but we had an away game. And in Toronto, Henry, you know about Toronto. So Lake Ontario is right there, and it's huge. So we're pulling up, and in my head, I was thinking, "Oh, I didn't know Toronto was in the ocean." And oh man, that was something. So, anyways, then I ended up going to Toronto Argonauts, and didn't have the best experience with coaches and then performance and stuff. A lot of drama, but I learned a lot. And then finally, this 2 years ago is going to be a bounce back season, and I signed with Saskatchewan Rough Riders, and then COVID hit, canceled the season. And then fast forward, I'm getting ready for the season, delays, and then things got pretty political, and decided it's best for me and my family to just hang the cleats up and retire. But in that process of last year, once the season got canceled, I started a woodworking business called Franklin Made Designs. I started flipping our house that we bought. I flipped it myself just from YouTube, and it was pretty
Wow.
just follow the
YouTube
instructions.
finalist.
And just I could take instructions. So I'm like, all right. And I had all these leftover pieces, and I'm like, I just don't want to waste them. And so I was like, maybe I could put them together somehow. And so I started doing it and really liking it. And I'm really trying to get into extreme customization, like houses, big houses, cars, boats. I want to get into animals and stuff like that. But so I'm really excited about that. It's been a learning process. And then I'm actually now working to become a firefighter. I just passed my CPAT, the physical exam, 2 days ago. and that was pretty cool.
Of course.
And yeah. What was that, Henry?
Of course.
But yeah, it was pretty awesome. I'm really pumped for it. And then it's about a 7 to 10 month process to get hired. And so next will be the written exam. So I'll start kind of prepping for that. And then I'm going to start going to EMT school because you're supposed to get it within your first year of getting hired. It's best to do it before because you have a little bit more freedom. And anyways, and then also, I don't know if you remember this, Henry. So for a very short stint in the spring with Alex Dimchek, I started a little thing called MU Courtesy Cart. So, as you know, football team, right, they have all the golf carts for the recruits and stuff. And as some of you might know, I wasn't necessarily one to go out and party. And so while the other guys would, I didn't really have anyone to hang with. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to go for a stroll on campus with one of these golf carts. So I'm driving around, and I'm like, okay, you know, some people coming from downtown to their campus. So I'm like, hey, you guys need a lift? And they're like, yeah, how much? I was like, that's free. So pick them up, I'm driving them, we're talking. And then I'm thinking, you know what? I need to just have a box that says tips. If people want to tip, they can. So I'm driving around, and like, meep, and you courtesy cart, need a lift? And so I'm giving people rides to and from, and not charging anything. People just tipping a couple dollars, $20. One guy tipped $50, and I was like, man, this is pretty awesome. So I did it Thursday night, Friday night, Saturday night, and then I got Alex Dimchek to get a golf cart, and we did it for a little bit. And then we got pulled over by the police one night, and he said, hey, you need headlights. I was like, oh, sorry about that. Boom, got him for the next night. I get pulled over again. It's like, hey, you need tail lights. I was like, boom, got him. And in the first 2 weekends, nobody knew I was a quarterback because I didn't advertise it. I was just MU Courtesy Cart. That was what he called it. I made Twitter for it. And anyways, then the football director got a wind of it and said that I had to cut it out because it had MU football on the side and there's like legalities and stuff.
Of course.
But I say all that to say, just about a week ago, I decided I want to start one up here in Norman. So I'm in the process of looking for a golf cart. Maybe ideally one I can fix up or just a little bit cheaper to get into it, but I'd like to be able to start it and grow it to where I'd kind of be in a managerial position, especially since I'm about to become a firefighter. But I think it's just a good way to kind of interact with people, and also it's neat. You know, it's something that you don't charge anything. If you want to tip, it's great. If you don't, that's great. But just, I don't know. I'm a big people person, and I kind of like that aspect of it. And so I'm looking forward to that. So I've got a few things going, but it's all a process.
Well, that is awesome. You guys, it kind of brings us to now, and we're talking about the current Missouri Tigers just coming off a win over Central Michigan, 1-0. You know, last year, Eli Drinkwitz going up against a 10-game SEC-only schedule, so good to get a tough non-conference opponent in there, but one that you should beat, and they did. Henry, just kind of generally, since you've been gone from Mizzou now for 8 years, what does the university mean to you? How connected are you to Mizzou? And is it, what's it like? You know, do you get excited when each season comes? You know, Gary Pickle retired just 2 years after you guys were gone, and Barry Odom comes in, and now it's Eli Drinkwitz. We're 2 coaches removed. Henry, how connected are you still to the school?
It's been a while. You say 8 years. It feels like it's been probably about 15 or 20. I haven't been back. Honestly, I think I've been back 2 times since I've left. I'm going to be going back this year. And of course, that's due to just my life evolving and being busy as I have been. Any little spare time I got, I try myself to be with my kids as much as I can. Missed out on a lot of stuff with football. So starting to get a lot more connected. I will be reaching out to some of the coaches as well and trying to just dive in a little more to see what I'm seeing on the outside and see if it actually is that way. I know one of the big things that always comes up with Mizzou is family. Me and James cannot talk for 15, 20 years again down the road. And as soon as we get on the phone, it's like we've been around each other our whole lives again. So that is something that never changes. Come on in.
That's right. Absolutely. I think that's what makes Mizzou special. That's what made it. That's what everybody would preach, Mizzou family back then. And so, James, we were talking earlier about Mizzou quarterback Connor Bazelak. I called him a steadying force. I called him a game manager. He threw for 264 yards and 2 touchdowns in the win over Central Michigan. But there's something about his demeanor. There's something about the way he carries his business. Maybe compares to a certain number 1 that's over here to my right, man. What are your thoughts so far on Connor Bazelak here as he enters his sophomore year?
Yeah, yes, sir. I really like him a lot. You were saying, we talked a little bit about it earlier before we went live. I'm a big fan of how guys carry themselves like that. I know I got some flack for it when I was there, and sometimes it can come across the wrong way. And so for the teammates that knew me and that I was closer to, they understood. It was more of a preparation thing. I just like to stay even keel. I was really excited. It's just try not to show it one way or the other. And I just remember guys always getting mad that you throw a touchdown, it looks the exact same as if you throw a pick, my reaction, and it's like, show some emotion. So how Connor carries himself, I actually really respect it a lot because it's hard to do. I mean, everyone knows, good or bad, when your emotion get the best of you, it's not easy to contain that. And I think that goes a long way for the team because it's hard to tell when he's flustered. So from an opponent standpoint, when they see him the same the entire time, they don't know if they've gotten under his skin or not. So that's an advantage to him because they're trying to play mind games or they're trying to rough him up a little bit physically, and you can't tell because he stays the same. And then also from a teammate standpoint, some of the receivers, guys on defense, guys on the sideline, they see their quarterback and he's level-headed through the entire drive where they need to go down, they need to get a field goal to win or a touchdown to tie or a touchdown to win. And some guys, you can see it in their eyes a little bit. They get the fight or flight mode and they want to fly away. And then there's the guys that talk a lot and try and psych themselves up and psych everyone else up. But you can see right through it. And then there's guys that they do that because they're confident and they want to psych everyone else up. And then there's the guys that just stay level-headed the whole time. And I think there's a big benefit to Connor being like that, especially when it comes crunch time in some games, because teammates feed off of each other. I mean, if you see, especially as a quarterback, if you see your quarterback who's a little bit shaky on the calls or he looks confused, that transitions over because sometimes, these guys are 18, 19, 20, 21 years old, and everybody needs some encouragement. Everybody needs some reassurance. And so if the natural leader of the team, you see him and he's good to go, level-headed, that gives you some confidence. And so I really like how he plays, his style and his demeanor. I'm all for it.
Well, Henry, in the way of running backs, Missouri, who's all-time leading rusher, Larry Roundtree just graduated. He's now with the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm never going to get that right, no matter how long they're in Los Angeles. Larry Roundtree's in L.A. Tyler Beatty comes in, a senior from Arkansas, from West Memphis, Arkansas, or the Memphis, Tennessee area, and he had over 200 yards rushing in his first game. I know what that's like. I remember a game, I think you had 263 yards in the first half against Western Illinois, and you didn't play another snap the rest of the game. You could have had 600 perhaps. But Tyler Beatty looks like he could really carry this team. Missouri's looking for that, certainly. And going up against a team like Kentucky, you've got a conference game week 2. This has become a season-defining game for Missouri over the years as Kentucky's program's gotten better.
Yeah.
How did you guys feel about playing Kentucky? Because at the time, Mark Stoops' first year was 13. That was the year you guys went 11-1. And now all of a sudden Kentucky's a formidable foe, especially with Will Levis at quarterback. He threw for like 300 yards and 4 TDs, man. This Kentucky game's a big one for Mizzou, isn't it, Henry?
Oh, definitely. I know back in the day when you thought of Kentucky, the only thing you thought was a basketball. They definitely changed that atmosphere over there very fast. Every time we played them, we knew it was going to be a tough game. It was going to be a battle. As far as Beatty, man, he's doing unbelievable. I think he's going to continue growing, especially with it being mainly on him. It'd be good to see them kind of throw some more packages at him and get him out there and spread him out, get him some quick screens and all that. But as far as a every down running back, he definitely proved it week 1. And I think he'll definitely keep improving. Those first 2 games are your biggest games as a running back because you not only get yourself comfortable, get used to being hit, but you know where to go and where not to go and then how things are flowing for you as the game continues to grow.
Well, James, I know Coach Eli Drinkwitz would love for you to reach out. That goes for both of you. He's an enigmatic guy. He's someone that just jumps out at you as a media guy. You don't always feel like you're getting a coach's necessarily honest opinions. Eli Drinkwitz is extremely engaging and entertaining and really funny. In fact, he was the high school coach of a former teammate of yours in your quarterback room in Ashton Glazier. I didn't know if you realized that. He coached him at Springdale, Arkansas. And he said, we talked to Ashton about him, and he said, it was weird. He was like 25 years old when he was like one of our coaches, but he acted like he was 40 years old. We thought he was like 40. What's been your impressions, James, so far of Eli Drinkwitz?
Yeah, I like him a lot. So I guess maybe his first year there, about a year and a half ago, my family and I are up there. And we took a picture in front of the columns, and I just posted on Twitter, and I was like, "Good to be home" or something like that. And then he sends me a text. I get a text and said, "Hey, you're in town. Come to the office." I was like, "Who's this?" And he's like, "Oh, it's Eli Drinkwitz." I was like, "Oh, sorry, coach." I was like, "Yeah, that'd be awesome." So I went, and my whole family went, and we met him. And he's just such a personable guy, family guy. I mean, at the time, my daughter's a little bit younger, just at 1, and then a little over 2. And I mean, they're touching and grabbing stuff. He's like, "Oh, don't worry, everything's baby proof." And like, he has kids of his own, and you can just tell he's very genuine and he's honest, and he is funny. I like what he says. He doesn't necessarily say the correct answers that the majority of coaches would say. He is very honest, and I like how he approaches things. And so I'm a big fan of him. He actually reached out, I think 3 months ago, asked if I'd come speak to the team beforehand. And I know he's really busy, so I texted him back and I said, "Yeah, yes, sir, I'd love to. I'll be about 10 grand," and put a bunch of ha-has. And I was like, "I'm just kidding, coach. Yeah, I'd be happy to come up." And I never heard from him, so I don't know if he just didn't get my second text as a joke or what. But yeah, I think he's awesome. I'm a big fan of Coach.
Wow, we got to get that. We could flash up James's Cash App up here, and we can get that done. But Henry, for you, I mean, when you watch Mizzou and you see how far they've come in the SEC, I mean, you guys started in the Big 12. Your guys' career started in the Big 12. You had that big game against Oklahoma early in your career. And, in 2011, you guys went on the road, really almost beat Oklahoma. After 2010, you did get that win. James had a rushing touchdown at the middle. I know how much he loves me lauding his rushing touchdowns. He doesn't like talking about those, apparently, since it wasn't through the air. I guess we won't count it. For you, Henry, starting in the Big 12, you make their transition to the SEC. What's it like watching Mizzou play in the SEC? And now you got A&M in the SEC, and you're about to have the Texas Longhorns in the SEC, brother. Texas is SEC country for sure now.
I think it's major. I think everybody's starting to get with the program and see where football is evolving. And I think that's one of the main things that I seen was a big change for just myself. Like, you had to learn to be a professional. Like, you had to start taking care of your body more than you thought you did. I think in the Big 12, we were a lot more free. We had the spread. So as far as like the physical contact, you get it and you love it. But when you got an SEC, you knew you were going to get it. And that next day, if you don't do anything about it, you're not going to play the next week, because it was just a different dynamic. But enjoyed the competition change. And then it was cool to see those teams start evolving to play the way we did, because they had to keep up. They knew we were going to score a lot of points. So they started evolving their offenses as well. It was just nice to see all that transition and see how much of a change it made for us actually to go over to the SEC.
Well, guys, as we go forward here on Mizzou's True Sons, these are the two true sons. I'm just somebody that's going to be behind the scenes. We want to cut these guys loose. We want to hear deep dives into the stories, into the seasons, and we're going to be doing that kind of as the season goes on. We can't reveal too much. We got to tease the audience a little bit, and they can just come along for the ride, because we got a lot more stories and things like that that we're going to get into, of course, leading up to the magical 2013 season, which to me, right up there with 2007, Missouri makes it to the Big 12 championship game as the number one team in the nation in 2007, loses to Oklahoma. You guys come up short against Auburn. Both teams were one win away from a national championship. So as far as the history of Mizzou football, those are the two teams that most people put up on their pedestals. But before we get out of here on our first show, guys, and it's been just tremendous, got to get our predictions for this game. Kentucky, man, opened it as a 3-point favorite. It's jumped up to 5. James, starting with you, who wins this game, and how do you see this thing shaking out, man?
Woo! All right. Well, you see, this is always tough because, as you all know, especially Henry, it doesn't matter how talented a team is. Anybody can win. Anybody can lose. Yeah. So it just depends on how you perform that day. But obviously, pulling for Mizzou, a little biased. But if we're going for a score, I've never been a much of a gambler, so I'm not good.
That's shocking.
Let's see. I would say let's go Mizzou 24, Kentucky 17.
Okay, Henry, holding your feet to the fire. We're taking that to Vegas, by the way, James. Thanks for that.
Hey, just
Henry, what do you
20%.
got, man? Can Mizzou go 2-0? And if they do, man, Missouri has a good shot to start 6-0 in the season if you look at the schedule. So does Missouri get this done on Saturday, man?
I think they get it done. Like I said, your first 2 games are your biggest games of the year. Your team changes the most within those first 2 games. I definitely think if they put up 28 points, they're going to easily win that game, and they definitely can do it. They have to clean up some small details offensively, and I think they'll do that. Those guys have been in there now, so they should be comfortable and confident. So it should go as smooth as possible, and I think they'll finish up and take this game very easily. Score-wise, I don't know. I just they put up 28 points. I think they'll be on their way up there.
Guys, my concern here is the play of the offensive and defensive lines. We really saw some problems with Missouri opening holes, especially in the first half of the game against Central Michigan. Kentucky's defensive line is extremely stout. So you know how it is in the SEC. This play up front is so important. Kentucky looks like they have a quarterback that can push it downfield. The Vegas loves Kentucky in this game, and I have to be honest, I like Kentucky too to cover the 5. I think Missouri starts off here, but I do think they get back on track here. And after an easy game against SEMO, we're going to go to Boston College, where I think the season's really going to get started. You're going to see a better Missouri team. But right now, Coach Drinkwitz said it this week, guys. He said, we're not ready to go on the road and beat a good team like this. Now, is that coach speak, or is that getting his team motivated? I don't know. But James, you talked about the honesty. That's about as honest as it gets.
Yes, sir. I think it's a little bit of both. And then at the same time, too, I mean, you could be honest and still be wrong. And so, I mean, Coach Drinkwitz, that might be a way to motivate the team. And I'm sure there is some honesty to that. But like I was saying earlier, at any time you can win a game collectively and lose a game collectively. And so going into it, I mean, a coach can think one thing and the players feel completely different, or vice versa, or they could be on the exact same page. And of course, these young guys are going to listen to their coach say that. I think for sure it's going to be motivating. There might be a couple guys that are like, oh, our coach doesn't believe in us. But for the most part, I think it's just something that he's helping motivate the team, because you see the little layers here and there, just like every game. I'm not a big perfectionist where it's like we look back at all the negatives. The most important thing I've learned in my career was you have that W at the end of the game. That's the most important. There's always something to improve. But you get the W, it doesn't matter. I wouldn't like it, but I could have 5 picks, 0 touchdowns, and we win by 6. I'll take that over 6 touchdowns and we lose by 5. So,
yeah.
Go ahead.
No, I like that. I just when you said that, it reminded me of the Cotton Bowl, the Oklahoma State game, where it was a rough start, and it was a rough start, right?
Let's save this for later, okay? I've got lots of feelings about that, okay? You look at the drop passes in that game. Oh, unbelievable! You see the stats. Oh, it's all James' fault. But you watch the game. The game. Oh.
I know Matty Mott came in and took us right down the field for a quick passing touchdown. And I know number 20 down there tore it up too.
No. Yeah, Henry, you did a great job. You did. You have my back. Those other guys, I'm not so sure. You look at those drop passes and you look at just one thing on that game. Matty, he was one of the goons in my wedding. I love him. I think he's great. But you know what he told me? He threw this touchdown, this corner out to Marcus Lucas. Cover 4. That corner's supposed to be back. He messed up. He throws it. Cornerback jumps, misses it by like 2 centimeters. Touchdown. Yeah, Matty's way better than James. James sucks. And guess what? He comes to the sideline and he says, I didn't even see that corner.
Okay, so we have a much different podcast on our hands coming up than I thought it was going to be, and this is going to be great. Guys, this was so much fun. Week 1, we're just getting started. This is so much fun. You heard it. You hear the real talk right here. James, I can't wait to get into this further. Henry, you guys are the best. Thank you guys for joining us on Mizzou's True Sons. We will be back next week. We'll do it all over again. And this is going to be one of those, like, we just keep bringing it to James, and he's just takes it and fires back in whatever way he can, because I'm wearing the James Franklin shirt. This is pre-NIL days, man. There was not a dime for out back then, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, hey, you guys are going to see the emotional James on here. You didn't see it on the field. You're going to see it on this podcast.
Awesome. Can't wait to do it, guys. Thanks so much, and we'll catch you next week.
All right, appreciate it. Have a good one.
MIZ.